Ladies and gentlemen, the good news is Republicans so far have dominated the primaries, and this is an indication of a red wave in November. Now, this is shaping up to be a referendum on Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, the squad, and the Democrat Party as a whole. And just think, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a chance to finally retire Nancy Pelosi and send her packing for good. But before I get into this, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit that like button and share. It's important that we spread our messages because YouTube and these other platforms, they're not going to spread it for us. Let's get right into this. The deplorables. Actually, I stand corrected. We're not the deplorables anymore. We have officially been promoted by Joe Biden himself as Ultra MAGA. And believe me, we will all be ultra voting in November because inflation is through the roof. Record gas and food prices like we've never seen before. The disaster at the border. The border is a complete mess. The world is more unstable with Russia and Ukraine, China, North Korea, Iran. There's a supply chain nightmare with baby formula shortage, and the stock market is sinking like the Titanic. And most importantly, an incompetent leadership at the top with Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and his incompetent administration. And those are just a few reasons. We could write out a whole list as the reasons why we need to go vote in November. Now, the ultimate question will be in November, will it be a red wave or will it be a red tsunami? Republican primary voters showed up in droves in battleground states, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Ohio. So far in 2022, overall voter turnout is up 13% from 2018. That number is driven by an approximate 30% increase in Republican voter turnout, while the Democrat turnout is down 6%. Of the 10 states that have held primaries so far, the only one where Republican voter turnout has dropped from 2018 is Oregon. No surprise there, where JMC reported a 23% decrease. Democrat voter turnout increased by 12% in North Carolina and 15% in Pennsylvania, but was dwarfed by Republican increases of 44% in North Carolina and 32% in Pennsylvania. Also, it's interesting to note 32 House Democrats so far have announced they will be retiring this year. And according to a recent Gallup poll, 83%, that's correct, 83% of Americans says America is on the wrong track, which spells big trouble for Sleepy Joe and the Democrats in November. Now, let me be clear, it's not just Joe Biden. Joe Biden is just at the top. He is listening to all these cabinet members and people in his administration who is controlling him, and he's just going along for it. But of course, Joe Biden, he's not smart enough to actually know what's going on. 57% disapprove of Sleepy Joe, with 40% strongly disapproving. And that number is probably going to continue to go up higher as gas prices keep going up and the country continues to fail under his leadership. Because people, as we've seen in these primaries and voter registrations, the number of people voting Republican and registering as Republican and Independents continues to increase month by month. So the Democrats, there's no turning back from what's going on right now. There's nothing at this point that they can do to get their numbers up. And one of the main reasons why the Democrats will likely lose Congress in the midterms is because of record high gas prices, which is causing us, the American people, to suffer with not only gas prices, but expensive groceries and basic necessities. Now, this clown Sleepy Joe recently actually said the quiet part out loud.
When it comes to the gas prices, we're going through an incredible transition that is taking place that, God willing, when it's over, we'll be stronger and the world will be stronger and less reliant on fossil fuels when this is over.
So there, Joe Biden admits his men wants to transition away from fossil fuel, even if it's causing pain at the pump, hurting average Americans financially, hurting the economy, and putting people out of work. For example, killing the Keystone Pipeline right after he took office. Now, gas prices hit a new record of $4.86 per gallon, impacting all Americans. And this is up 25 cents a gallon in the last week. Unpopular Sleepy Joe and the far-left Democrats are the greatest gift ever given to the GOP, as they are boosting Republican and independent voter registrations across battleground states. Now let's take a look at the national partisan voter registration changes, which included 30 states. From January 2021 to May 2022, the Democrats have lost more than 2 million registrations. The GOP has lost more than 700,000, where the independents have gained 331,000. Now this is a net difference for the GOP of plus 1,415,000. Voter registration advantage from 2008 versus 2022. In West Virginia in 2008, Democrats had an advantage of over 300,000 voter registrations, whereas today the Republicans now have the advantage of over 55,000. In Florida, 2008, Democrats had almost a 700,000 voter registration advantage, whereas today, Republicans have over 100,000 registration advantage. Pennsylvania, 2008, Democrats had over 1 million. Today, Democrats have lost over 500,000 voter registrations. Nevada voter registration. In 2016, Democrats had over 97,000. In 2020, Democrats had over 87,000. Today, that advantage has shrunk to just under 59,000. Biden only won Nevada by 333,000 votes. Now, in Nevada, the independents have increased over 95,000 voter registrations. So the trend here is independents are gaining more voters because there's more people that does not want to be associated with each party. Even in the solid blue state of Oregon, the governor's race is competitive, which should be a warning to the Democrats. Now, it's going to be very difficult for a Republican to ever win Oregon. As you can see, Joe Biden won Oregon with almost 80% of the vote, whereas Trump got almost 18%. Now, the only way I see a Republican winning anything in Oregon is the rural turnout is going to have to increase, and there has to be a low Democrat enthusiasm, which is exactly what we're seeing. So I think you're going to see more rural votes and less Democrat votes because of an unpopular president and what's going on in the country. Now, the 2022 generic congressional vote currently has Republicans up by average of just over 2 percentage points. Now, this is within the margin of error, but as you can see, a recent Rasmussen poll has Republicans up by 8. Even your hardcore liberal polls like Harvard-Harris and Quinnipiac are showing Republicans up. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe we are heading for a red wave in November, but you cannot get complacent. You cannot assume that the Republicans will actually win. You have to get out there and vote. Now, I've ran into some people who say, well, they're not going to bother voting because 2020 hasn't been fixed. Well, if you do not show up to vote, then you're automatically giving the Democrats the win. So regardless of what you think of the 2020 election or outcome, you need to get out there and vote. And you need to take people with you. You need to make it your priority to register as many people as possible and offer to take them to the polls to vote, because we have to turn out in big numbers if we want to win. Now, I've been recently asked what are my thoughts about a potential civil war in this country. Now, I'll say this. With the way the Democrat Party is shifting farther to the left, and more of the Democrat Party is now officially advocating for violence. You know, if they don't get their way, they're getting out there rioting. These liberal media is censoring conservatives like never before. And as long as we have politicians out there advocating for this violence, then yes, I do believe we can indeed see a political civil war in this country. And as we're seeing right now, you have a lot of these Democrat politicians wanting to go after the Second Amendment, wanting more and more gun control. So, and I think nobody in this country wants to see that happen, because that's going to set off a lot of people. We're already seeing record gun sales going on right now. So yes, I do think that that is a possibility. Do I want to see that? No, I don't. And as far as I'm concerned, that would be the worst situation for this country. Now, I try to get along with the liberals, but their mentality just won't allow me. Hit that subscribe button, like, and share. And until next time, I am out.